feel like it's universally accepted that Lightfall was one of the worst things to ever happen to Destiny. So before Lightfall came out, I'd say my worst rated expansion was Shadowkeep, and even though I stopped playing Destiny for a year due to how bad Shadowkeep was, I'd still rank Lightfall below it, and I honestly think it's fully to do with how the story was handled. Now with a title like Lightfall, you'd expect that the story would get really dark, and that the tone would be fully serious, but that just wasn't the case at all, and instead we got this.
I'm full of fury, she's got an army, and you got magic green strings. Let's crush this callous guy.
Why Bungie thought it was a good idea to introduce a comedic character like Nimbus this late into the story, I'll never understand. Like, fair enough if they wanted to go down the fun-loving character has to step up and become serious after a tragic event route, but that just didn't end up happening, and instead we got Nimbus flying down to fist bump Keitel right after she's just witnessed her dad being killed.
The uglier they are, the harder they fall, right?
And then speaking of Keitel's dad, my guy was so disappointing in Lightfall, and it's arguably when he was at his most powerful as a disciple of the Witness. Like, the amount of hype Callus actually had over the years, going back to the start of Destiny 2, and then he just done nothing substantial or even threatening. Like, the way him and Keitel's story had been going, I was fully expecting them to have a full-on scrap with each other, which could have possibly led to Callus joining our side and then sacrificing himself for Keitel or something. But no, he just turned into a gladiator and we killed him pretty easily. You know what wasn't pretty easy though? Finding out what the Veil actually is or even does. The whole purpose of Lightfall was to get to the Veil before the Witness did, and for some reason, no one could tell us what the Veil is or what it even does. Like, to be honest, I'm still not 100% on what the Veil even is, which in my opinion just shows how bad the storytelling actually was for Lightfall. Like, looking back on it now, the only things that I genuinely liked about Lightfall is Strand, mainly just because of how fun it is to use, and then the raid, which was Route of Nightmares. Now I know that people say that route is too easy, especially on day one, but I quite like it. The environments are nice to look at, and the encounters are half decent. And yeah, so that pretty much sums up Lightfall. So next we had Season of Defiance. So when it comes to Defiance, I think I can easily say that it was the weakest out of all the Lightfall seasons by far. Like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't a bad season, and story-wise it fit in with what Lightfall set up. But I don't know, when you compare it to the later seasons that we got, it just doesn't really stand out. The biggest thing that happened this season was the death of Amanda Holiday, but if I'm being fully honest, I don't think the death was as impactful as it could have been. Now maybe it's just me, and I know Amanda's been around since Destiny 1, but I didn't really have a connection to her character, so her dying was kinda like, sound, that's her gone then, I guess. And then the unserious nature that Lightfall set up also carried over into Defiance, with us getting dialogue such as this.
We thought you were Shadow Legion.
Easy mistake. I'm just so beefy.
Man, shut your ass up.
Thankfully though, after the death of Amanda, the characters actually seemed to become a bit more serious, which was a good setup for the next season, which was Season of the Deep. Now Season of the Deep was when things actually started getting exciting. I remember seeing that teaser image for the first time and just having so many questions surrounding that big eyeball and Sloane being taken. And then we actually got to play the season, and one of the first things we got hit with was,
I am the mountain upon which all swords shatter! Hone your edge against me!
That's the first time we got to hear what Sivoraf sounds like, and it was actually sick. The story only got better though with us being introduced to Asa, who would go on to give us a whole origin story for the Witness, which is arguably something that should have been in the campaign for Lightfall, but you know, it is what it is. And then moving on from that, we also got a new dungeon which focused around the Halve trying to bring Oryx back to life as a Lucent Halve, and the way you just walk around the corner and see Oryx's dead body was again quite sick. It just seems like the whole tone and mood for the season switched to a much more serious one, and it was a perfect build up for the final reveal of the season.
The Witch Queen must rise.
And this is what led us into the next season, Season of the Witch. Now I honestly don't know what it is with Savathûn, but every time she's involved in something, you just know it's going to be good. Season of Arrivals, great season, brought me back to Destiny after a year off. Witch Queen, one of the best narrative expansions that Destiny's ever had. And then Season of the Witch, another great season, both gameplay and story-wise. I think what makes Savathûn so interesting is that she always comes with a bit of mystery, and we never fully have the answers, which makes for much more engaging content, at least in my opinion. And then not only did we have the mystery of Savathûn this season, but we also had Eris become a Halve God, which...
Bring me your tithes.
pretty much speaks for itself. I mean, I don't think anyone can complain about that happening. And then we also got the Embargo engine, which was basically just a bunch of different little puzzle room type things, which were actually quite difficult to solve. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, I just ended up googling the answers for most of the puzzles, but that is not the point. The point is that the Embargo engine was actually kind of sick. And despite it being optional, if you solved the last puzzle, it got revealed to you that Savathûn had hold of an uncorrupted Ahamkara egg, which was then followed up by this.
A pattern in Savathûn's wings. She did give us what she promised. The last wish.
And this is what led us directly into the next season, Season of the Wish. With Season of the Wish, I was half excited for it because I knew it involved the Ahamkara, and then once we found out that Riven was coming back, I was even more excited. But for some reason, once I played through the first mission, I just couldn't be bothered with Destiny anymore, and I ended up dropping it for a few months. Now I don't know if this is because I was just burnt out from the 2 previous seasons, or because I knew this would be the longest season we've ever had due to the final shape delay. But either way, yeah, I just ended up dropping it for a bit. And then when I came back, I thought it was going to be a proper pain trying to catch up again, but it actually wasn't that bad. And being able to complete the full story quest in one sitting was actually half interesting, because it made following the story a bit easier, rather than having to remember what happened in the previous week. And then speaking of the story, it was half alright, yeah. I wouldn't say it was as interesting as the 2 previous seasons, but it did a good job of setting up final shape for us, so I can't really complain. I do want to speak about the final mission though, because despite it just being a reskin, we did get a really good cutscene from it, which is something that I love to see. And then apart from the story, we got another dungeon, which was Warlord's Ruin, and yeah, it's pretty decent, like, it's got an interesting story behind it, and the whole medieval castle theme it's got is kinda cool. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you'd have told me at the end of Lightfall that this year would be the most I'm going to play Destiny, then I would have just laughed at you. But here I am with every title for every season that dropped this year, which is something I've never done before. I don't know how it happened, but this year went from Lightfall has officially killed Destiny to I genuinely can't wait for final shape. But yeah, I still wish Lightfall didn't happen though.